Would you like to respond to this?
I think, you see, I don't believe that we have to make our cities for tourists. In fact, when I started in 88 with all this, we wanted to preserve all the buildings because they needed to be preserved. And nobody was listening till somebody whispered in my ears that, why don't you say that this is for tourism? I said, come on. Why? What do I care for tourists? I don't care if they come or they don't come. These are very beautiful buildings, and I don't think we can build something like this, so we need to preserve. But nobody listened. But then slowly one learns one's lessons in life. Then we started saying that, look, this will attract tourism. So everybody started listening. So, it's a question of strategy. So I think the cities have to be made livable for the residents, and tourists will automatically enjoy. I'm all for that. In fact, I can show you that we have said this on several forums, that let us make Pondicherry beautiful, livable, improve the quality for us, not for the tourists. And I have told also our tourism friends that, look, you make this place beautiful for us, and then you'll have to issue tickets to enter Pondicherry, because people will automatically come. I don't personally believe that we should improve or beautify or do anything for tourists. We have to do it for us. So I think I'm on the same plane with all the people who think like this.
Yeah, I think it's getting interesting now. Come on, Matthew.
The government, for some reason, cares more for tourists than residents. You can look at it one way, you can say the government doesn't care for tourists or residents also. That's another way of looking at it. But take a look at just outside this beach. We got the money under the pretext of developing it for tourism. But honestly, tell me, who benefits? Is it just tourists? No, we all do. In fact, we do more than the tourists. I'm sure about that. On any given day, if you walk on that beach, it's the residents who are there. 80% of them are tourists. So, we have used tourism to get funds to improve civic amenities. If you look at in many of the other projects here, that's what's happened. As for the mushrooming of hotels, we are not really dishing out money. They have to get proper certification from the tourism ministry, which is not very easy to come by. People see an opportunity to make money and they do it. It's really got nothing to do with us. Now, talking about tourism, again, I want to say something, and I say this with quite a level of conviction, that if it hadn't been for this tourist boom that we've had in the last 10 years, much of heritage preservation wouldn't have taken off. Because heritage preservation was seen as central to an economic question. We started preserving buildings. Government got into the act finally in a big sort of way, instead of standing in the sidelines or silently helping sometimes the real estate lobby get their way. Actually started doing some work on this. We started getting international recognition. People start coming here. They reinforce further the need to preserve our heritage. And that's how this thing has worked. But that doesn't mean we can go on, increasing the number of tourists ad nauseum, because there is a carrying capacity. We have done studies on it. And as of now, we have already crossed our carrying capacity. And we'll have to find creative ways of overcoming that. It's always been our concern. I mean, I'm talking as a tourism person, that we do everything that we do here, whether it's industrial growth, whether it's social development or tourism. Ultimately, the big question is, how does it benefit us? How does it help our quality of life? And for us, believe me, we take that very seriously. Whether it's the politician or whether it's the person in the bureaucracy, ultimately what we are convinced about, and one thing we like about this place, is the quality of life people have. And for us, preserving that quality of life is the most important thing. Everything else that we do is towards improving the quality of life. Thank you.
Yeah, I had just one quick question. We talk about the quality of life and Pondicherry and the ambience. When I traveled, or when I walked through Pondicherry over the last 4 weeks, I've seen so many beautiful trees, which for me constituted a large part of the beauty of Pondicherry, have disappeared. So I wanted to ask the government and Intec, what kind of steps could be taken to recreate or recover that kind of loss? Because I've seen so many places, like next to the Botanical Garden and all, which are there steps or are there plans to consider them also as part of the heritage of Pondicherry?
Matthew.
We've already launched a program called Greening Pondicherry within a week. The thing that has caused us a lot of sorrow, we haven't lost much lives in this cyclone, we lost 12 people, is that we lost about 25% to one-third of our tree cover here. That's caused us a lot of sorrow. Whenever we travel, we are suddenly seeing that the whole place is opened up, there's more light, and we wonder how hot it's going to be this summer. But the good thing I must tell you, the cyclone is an act of nature. It has done a kind of trimming that we didn't do. And if you look around now, you are seeing that the trees are all just bursting forth with leaves. And believe me, it's going to be a lot better in another 2 months. We have to plant trees, but we have to plant them wisely, and we need to have policies that cut them properly during the stormy season, so they don't fall down and wreck electricity. In our rural areas, we still haven't been able to restore electricity in some of our areas because every line, every transformer, everything has fallen down. The trees have fallen under. So we planted a lot of trees. Believe we planted a lot of trees over the last 5 decades, and a lot of them have come crashing onto our electric lines. So now we have to be careful about how we plant them, how we trim them. So it's one thing growing a tree, it's another thing looking after it. I hope that we have learnt our lesson and we'll be more careful in future, but growing trees is on the top of our agenda. Thank you.
Sebastian.
I'd like to ask the representative of the government here, since it seems that we're all discussing that the Pondicherry has reached the carrying capacity for the tourists that is probably in excess, or are we at a good position? A. Second of all, what does the government see, or what vision does the government have 5 years down the line, in including the question that was made by the lady back there in terms of culture? How do we see, what are we going to keep the tourists here to do if we even really want them, and how can the town benefit in terms of its international position, not only as a French reminiscent hub, but as something beyond that?
Well, it's difficult for me to say how much active thinking the government has done on this, the future, but I can tell you about the vision that I've brought to my work, and we look at Pondicherry as a place, a city of dialogue. It's a city of dialogue, ways of living, philosophies of East and West. We are not looking at turning this into the next Ibiza or even Goa for that matter. We are looking at a place where people can come, a place where people come and contemplate and have a life-changing experience. That's what it's been doing all these years. People have come here and they're not the same anymore. Of course, what's peculiar is people don't leave also. They come and they stay on, and then they become residents here. That's what we have seen. Well, that will continue for some time. But the other thing is that we look at trying to excel in areas of culture, be it art, be it fashion, be it design, being that of the performing arts. This is what we are looking to, where we will go, and we will know in the process we will also take our people along with that. The problem is that Pondicherry, this is the problem that we've had in Pondicherry. What do you do when you come to Pondicherry? You'll go to the ashram, you'll meditate for some time, you'll take a walk, you'll have a beer, you'll have another beer, and then what happens? So we have tried to develop several aspects. We have done something in dramatics, we've done things in dance, we've done a lot of things in music. Hopefully that will continue into the future. Many of we have certain festivals which have been taking place almost every year. So these are ways that we try to sustain interest in Pondicherry, give people things to do, rather than promote a kind of culture which you can find the nightclub culture or a casino culture. These are options that were open to us in the past. We have steadfastly refused to do that because we feel that those things are contrary to what our values are here. So we would like to look at things more towards culture, towards things of the mind, towards things that slow down people, not speed them up. And we are talking about give time a break. So that's what we are trying to do here.
Yeah.
This is a question pinpointedly to Akash. Akash, I feel somewhere you have been able to, can you hear me? Somewhere you've been able to slightly touch upon the intangible elements of Pondicherry. We were in a forum together with Matthews, in all the tour operators of India were present, and each one of them was saying that I'm Rajasthan, I have palaces. I am Karnataka, I have backwaters. I am such a state, I have the Himalayas. We don't have Himalayas, we don't have backwaters. I mean, as good as Karnataka has much better, Kerala has much better backwaters. Rajasthan has much better heritage, as to say, we have small buildings. Rajasthan is kind of full of heritage. We don't have wildlife, we have almost nothing. And yet, there is something which we are trying to find out here, that Pondicherry has something that is very special, which in spite of your tours when you came back, as you read in your essay, made you feel that it is very special. It's very difficult to pinpointedly find what that special thing is. It would be nice if you can answer this question to me. What is it that you find so special? Because in comparison, we are talking about quality of life. There are other cities which have better quality of life, even in India. Jamshedpur, for instance. We are talking about heritage, buildings. There are places like Rajasthan which has much better heritage buildings, forts and palaces, than what we have in a very, very small scale in Pondicherry. We're talking about anything else. Other states have it much better than us. If you have things, we're talking about things to do, we have nothing to do. Here, in fact, when somebody asked me, what do you do? I had to just joke by saying that we are not even God's own country like Kerala. But it's still, when God needs a break, he comes to Pondicherry.
So the question is, what do I find special?
Because I think you were able to touch on something that is
I mean,
actually really special. We are trying to find what is special. And in Pondicherry, there is something special. It'll be nice.
First of all, I think it's quite special. I don't know if it's as special, maybe as I'm not sure. But I think I tried to say it in the essay. For me, what's special about Pondicherry is that it's cosmopolitan, but not obviously cosmopolitan in the way that New York or Paris or London is. It's cosmopolitan in a very different kind of way. I think part of its unique cosmopolitan flavor comes from the fact that it is such a small town. And so it's a different kind of cosmopolitanism. You have the ashram, you have Oroville, you have the Tamil influence, of course. When I was a kid, you had the Vietnamese influence, which has dissipated over time. I think it's certainly an intangible. I don't think it's something that a tourist coming to Pondicherry necessarily seizes on. I think it's more something that people who live here and the types that sort of repeat visitors that Pondicherry attracts feel about Pondicherry. I mean, the other thing that I was thinking earlier about that cosmopolitanism, which is in a way more of a negative than a positive, is that I see it a little bit as a kind of a ghettoized or balkanized cosmopolitanism, because we have all these different influences, but they actually rarely talk to each other. So I say this as somebody that went to the ashram school until I was 9 or 10, and then I moved to Oroville. And as you know, partly for historical reasons, but there's very little contact and very little interaction between the unique culture that Oroville brings to Pondicherry and that the ashram brings to Pondicherry, but actually at a sort of person-to-person and cultural contact, there's relatively little interaction, and that's true across cultures. So I was thinking, like an evening like this or a space like this, one of the things that can really add to Pondicherry is to bring together these different sort of aspects of its cosmopolitan culture.
I think we should quickly touch upon this point of
I don't even know
the way forward. What could we do? Because we've heard about the problems, we have heard about what's good about Pondicherry. Maybe there's something we are still trying to catch about what's special about Pondicherry, and this could go on and on. But if we could talk about what is the way forward, what can we do now? One side we have the pressure of tourism, but on the other hand, we also want to have a good quality of life. So there are a whole lot of issues, conflicting issues, which we need to resolve. But Pondicherry, everyone talks about, is the only future revenue earner. So we need to see that if the tourism becomes the main industry, how are we going to handle this? So there are a whole lot of issues on infrastructure and other things. So what is the way forward? If we could get some people to talk about some steps that we could take, so that we could get into an action plan. And then, you know, if these proposals are put together, we could say that, okay, in this meeting, we have discussed about all these issues, but we have got some ideas of what are the actions we could take, and then we could move forward on that.
Prabir,
So,
Prabir, there's Desmond back there who has a... Desmond? Can we get a mic back there to Desmond? Back there? Raise your hand, Desmond. Back
okay,
there.
Bishu, you want to, you wanted to say something?
Oh, sorry.
I just
Sorry,
wanted to
sorry.
ask
Next,
you one
Desmond,
small
sorry.
thing. I just wanted to ask, I don't know who to address, but then with regards to what is the way forward about the beach, for example. When we were children, we've all seen a wonderful beach. We all know that it's gone, hopefully not forever. And since I am a lay person, can anyone enlighten me about if anything is being done about it?
Yeah, it's a it's a huge battle which has been going on for a long time, and earlier there were efforts to, you know, all the efforts went into putting this stone, which you see 10-kilometer long wall, but finally the government of Pondicherry, in this last meeting that we had with all the concerned departments, agreed to take up a restoration project, restoration of the Pondicherry's beach, which is going to become a huge asset again. But if this initiative is taken up, and we have companies from France like Stabi Plage who has, you know, got a solution to this kind of problem. If these kind of, if we government can take it up seriously, in a couple of years we could actually start seeing seeing a beach coming back. So we are on the job and we are working on it. And I will definitely take the support of all the people who can, you know, shout for getting the beach back.
Desmond?
Desmond?
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm just coming back to your point made a minute ago about what we go and how we go in the future. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I would advocate an arts festival, and I would like to know, this idea has been bandied about for some time now without any concrete action towards that. If you're looking at tourism, and also you're questioning the whole idea of heritage and what that means, it actually means cultural heritage. In other words, passing on ideas between peoples. Possibly Pondicherry, that could be a way forward for us as a cultural hub. It is anyway, because we're talking about different people from different parts of the world settling here. It's a natural hub to do that. I don't see a government initiative that's actually initiating that, or is there?
When in doubt, ask the government.
Well, he's sitting there.
Yeah, well, the point here is there are two ways of looking at this. Now, if there has to be a cultural initiative, why does it always have to come from government? Culture is not the exclusive preserve of the
Because we
government or
don't
the
have the
monopoly of the government.
infrastructure. We don't actually have
No,
the
actually,
infrastructure to do it.
that facilitation is being done here. In fact, in many ways, I mean, I was looking after the art and culture department here. While it may not work in ways that are, you know, appeal to us directly, it does a huge job of supporting people who are artists, mostly in the vernacular. They have their little cultural organizations for which funding is given, and they do hand out a lot of awards and pensions and all sorts of things that are going on. But this circle, unfortunately, is out of that. But if someone made some serious efforts to go into that and see how you can tap, ultimately the content for any such festival will have to come from civil society. Bureaucrats by nature, well, the best bureaucrats are not artistic. Yeah, you're right. Creativity and great intelligence are not qualities that they look for in bureaucrats. They just want people to do the job. But the point here is that if there are good ideas, I mean, we have done quite a few of. It is true that we have, you know, this Saturday we are having the Freedom Jam. That's been going on for the last 9 years. That's with government support. We've been having weekly programs here on the beach, and from time to time you have Kolam festivals, community, you know, Kolam festivals covering 6 streets in the town. Those are done by some ladies associations. So, and we support that. So if you have anything, take for example the Jaipur festival, I don't think it was a government initiative. People got together and started it, then slowly it took its own momentum. So basically the thrust has to come from the people. The government will definitely try and help you. If you got a good idea, and you know, if it makes some politician popular, then sure, you'll find the funds. So that's how it works. So We just have to tap onto those things. We have to come up with ideas here. I think Sunaina can remember the Aurobindo centenary, which we brought on. Although the ashram was not particularly interested in the beginning, we got quite a lot of momentum going out of that. So these are ways in which you can, and we are here. I mean, many of us are here who are quite open to doing some such things like that. I believe we, Lalit and the government have also worked several times in having art camps. We need to have a regular cycle, a calendar of events, which will take place where the reliability of an event happening at a given point of time.
Connecting
those are things that we have to ensure.
Connecting this cultural aspect and what Matthew is saying, this area of the distillery, which is just right here. There is a proposal of making it into a cultural center, because once you have a center, then you can have a whole lot of cultural events, and this whole thing about being an international center where cultural events can happen from all over the world. So that is a proposal which is also being pursued. So hopefully it will come up one day, and then we can promote more cultural events. But definitely it has to be pushed by the civil society in terms of programs. Sebastian?
Desmond, I think the answer to your question is twofold. There needs to be a certain maturity to arrive to that kind of vision that you're talking about, and you have spent most of your time outside in realities that have gone through a process which Pondicherry has not initiated as yet. So it's not a defense, it's just an analysis. And second of all, the energy necessary has to come from people like you, myself, I put myself, that then spurn the government or others or wealthy people or similar-minded people to create that energy. Unfortunately, it's never going to come from the government. It has to become from the artist, from people interested in that, from the promoters, from people like Lalit and others, Lalita. But it has to be, we have to sort of qualify it, because there's a difference in your vision and my vision and the vision that is being shared at this moment. So arts and crafts is something that we enjoy, but that's not what we're talking about. And those two things, it's very difficult to combine them. So I think that's where Pondi is. It can't become contemporary just by jumping. It's very difficult to do that.
Okay, so anyone else wants to talk about a solution or a way forward, a way forward?
My name is Mohammed Amin. I'm grandson of H.M. Kasim. He was one of the former mayors of Pondicherry. My house is located in the Tamil Quad. For preserving of the old heritage houses, maybe for the institutions and others it's very easy. But we are living in a society where we are in a joint family system. So houses, when it is herited, if I'm a single son, then I can well easily manage, I can preserve the house. But I'm with my elder brother and my younger brother. If my house is inherited and we want to partition the house, then there comes the problem of how to maintain the house or how to preserve it. So my grandfather's house, he had one male child and others were female child. The son, he wants to preserve the house, but the female child and her children, they don't want to keep it at all. They want to be it in the modern style. So my grandfather's house, part of the house was demolished now. So these are one of the challenges.
Yeah, these are
we are helpless to say.
Yes. Yeah, this is a challenge, definitely the pressure of family becoming bigger.
Excuse me, Mr. Probir.
Yeah.
To add to what he said, actually what he's telling is right. In Pondicherry, public institutions and as well as the public buildings, that can be preserved by the government and by the public institutions. But like what he said, these properties, in this generation, of course, the old man who lives in the house, who has the control, he will take care of the heritage building as long as he lives. For the next generation, what will happen? So there has to be a partition. So in that point, what that gentleman, the professor said, government has to play a larger role in this. The government, they should come out with some sort of allocation of fund through JNRUM, JNNRU fund or something like that. And instead of, those people who would like to, were always talking about educating the people into preserving the heritage buildings, should motivate, should go to take this thing to the knowledge of the government and educate them. First of all, educate the government to to allocate funds to preserve this kind of buildings. You know, once funds are been allocated and some sort of assistance has been done to that buildings, see, automatically that building owner also becomes aware. You know, so some sort of funds have been flowed into this building, so we'll have to keep it intact, at least for, you know, at least for the next generation. And we'll have to think about it. You know, the government has to constantly think about what should be done in the next generation. You know, so there should be partition. The partition has have to be done in future in Tamil. You know, as what he said rightly. So some
what
sort
you're
of
saying is that there has to be a dialogue with the government.
yeah, the government instead of of course you've been talking about educating the people in preserving the buildings. Okay, right.
But educate the government.
Educate the government.
Okay.
Like what he said he came out with a very good point. And the Jindrum fund, we have a lot of funds in Jindrum, of course. So a lot, a certain amount of money to this kind of buildings
I get
also.
your point, yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else wants to talk about way forward? What can we do? Yeah, we have 3-4 already.